Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are here with Ezzie. This is Esperanza, a Mustang I got in for training way back in the winter. And yes, she is still here for training. If you're following me on my personal page, I don't think I've posted a lot of it on the Winter Wish as much, but Ezzie is not even one of. She is the toughest horse I've ever worked with. She is incredibly flighty and sensitive. It's just been a whirlwind trying to get this horse sort of figured out and comfortable and feeling safe, and getting to this point that she's at in this video has been tremendous effort. And I am very, very pleased with where she is right now. So I just want to preface that. There are obviously Mustangs you will adopt that you can pet and love on and halter and lead and sit on the first day. And then you have the exact opposite of the spectrum, where you have horses like Ezzie, where you can't even stand 40 feet from them before they are ready to try to scale a fence. It's just been, you don't know what you're getting. And that's what I always tell people when they're thinking about getting a Mustang, aside from obviously going to adoption events and seeing them in person, or, this is getting an untouched horse. Obviously, if you're getting a Mustang and you want something started or gentled or whatever, that's different. But if you're getting an untouched horse, if you have not seen that horse in person, or you're picking it up at an event or whatever it is, whatever, know that you could either get the easiest horse in the world or the most difficult horse in the world. So you want to be prepared for both scenarios. So rest assured, Ezzie is doing really well. She is, like I said, she's in for training. She's not owned by me. I adore this horse. She has been just so cool to work with and figure out. She has required, a lot of patience. She is her own being, through and through, her own thing. But we are making significant strides from where we started. So I'm really, really happy about this. So I wanted to talk about dealing with a high flight horse and introducing touch and some of the tricks that I've taught Ezzie to kind of help her dictate the training sessions and everything and what goes on. So for starters, you can kind of watch me do some stuff, but I'm going to talk about a few things first before I explain what I'm doing here. So for starters, with your really high flight horses, you need to assess the horse you have in front of you, because for Ezzie, when she first arrived, I gave her a month to just decompress. I started working with her for I think a week, and then I was really quickly realized that this horse is going to need some significant time to just decompress and get used to things and everything like that. So I'm not going to start with them and just start lunging them and getting them to face up and do all those things. That is its own method, and that's fine if that's what people do, but that's just not the way that I like to operate at first. I really try to utilize as much sort of gentle, just pressure release. I don't really like to move their feet around too much, especially when they're this flighty. They already want to move their feet. So in fact, my goal in the beginning is to get them to move their feet less, for them to just stand still and kind of quiet down. So, we started with a lot of that and just getting her to learn that she didn't need to be moving her feet. So it was a lot of just approach and retreat and just kind of get her to stand. And eventually I got her to take alfalfa from me, which was really great. And that sort of kind of helped start to bridge the gap between her distrust in me and actually starting to figure out this whole domestic horse life thing. So for a while, I got her just taking hay for me, and it was fabulous. And she was leading at Liberty, but she was, from a distance, and you move too quick and she takes off. She does this spin move and she just just leaves. But her engagement level is actually really, really high. So she's very different from Epona, my other kind of, pretty tough Mustang that we got as well. Epona is very introverted and not curious, but not nearly as flighty as Ezzie. And Ezzie's just super high flight and super reactive, but she's more curious. So it's kind of good that we have some good, working for us here, aside from all of the not so great stuff. So she, so we worked on just taking hay for a while, but then it kind of came to a halt. I could not actually touch this horse. She would take hay from me and she'd follow me around, but I could not get my hands on her. She was gone. So I did not film this. And the reason I didn't, I'll say what it was first. So one of my practices, one of my tools in my toolbox is I like to take a lunge whip and toss the rope end over their backs. And I do it in a smaller space so that they can sort of just kind of trot around or do what they need to do. A lot of the times when you're doing this with your high flight horses, they're a lot more reactive and they may actually canter a lap or two, and then they'll start to come down to the trot and then they'll start to relax. But I did this with Ezzie for a while, and I actually did this is how we got Epona to the state that she's at too. And it's not something that I filmed, mostly because I don't want it to be like the first step for people. And I'm going to film it because it's actually, it's been a really helpful trick for getting these tough Mustangs figured out. And I would rather people maybe use this slightly, very slightly, more aversive method as opposed to trying all these things and just saying, well, I'm giving up and I'm doing whatever with this horse. Because, like, obviously that's not a good solution either. So I'm going to, the next time I have, like, a horse that requires that, I'll make sure I film it. Savvy is not the type. She doesn't care. So that's not going to apply to her. But, and obviously Ezzie's past that point, as you can see, because I can touch her with a stick and she doesn't move. So yeah, basically what I do is I take the lunge whip and I just sort of stand in the middle. You might have to move around a bit depending on, you know, how big of the space it is, but it needs to be a smaller space, like, no doubt. And I just toss that line over and the horse just sort of does what they need to do, you know, obviously. And then when they stop moving or they slow down or whatever it is, then you take that pressure away. So it's just classic negative reinforcement. It's nothing complicated to it. And I like doing it this way because you can just take that line off pretty quick. You know, if things escalate or whatever, like, there's no attachment and it's not actually creating any, like, aversive physical feelings, as opposed to, like, roping a horse where they may get some rope burn or feel it on their neck or whatever it is. So that method worked really well for this horse, and I started her on magnesium and Mare Magic. And since then, I've actually been able to touch her with a stick and her not leave. I think for a while I started with just her walking, but for like a good month of doing that lunge whip over her back, all she did was trot. Like, she was just constantly trotting around, and I just, like, could not get her to stop. It was something. So I'm really pretty pleased that now we're able to get to this point where she's quiet and can stand for at least the whip. So for this session, I am working on getting to touch her again with my hand. I have done this before, at least probably a dozen times. So for Ezzie, she's a very sort of slow learner. Not that she's not smart, but she's very much like Freya, my mule, just like dialed to 100. She's very reactive, and she is very self-preserved. So if she thinks anything is of any threat or danger to her, she doesn't engage in any capacity. Which is really good, because when she is standing still and tolerating and accepting things, I know that she feels safe to a degree. She always kind of has this worried look in her eyes. Some days she's a little bit softer, and actually towards the end of this video I included another clip of a session that we did afterwards where we were targeting the cone, and she was actually, like, very interested in me, and her head was low and she had, like, a really relaxed eye. So that was, like, a really great moment for the both of us to kind of just be like, oh, thank God we found some relaxation. But you know, she's the type of horse that if she doesn't feel safe, she's not engaging. So it's really good that she is accepting this touch to this degree. And with her, you know, with your flighty horses in general, the best sort of reinforcement for them is the release of pressure, because they want space. They want time to decompress on their own. Like, when they're that flighty and they have a huge personal space bubble or whatever it is, they just want, their comfort is going to come from the release of pressure. For Ezzie, however, we've started with positive reinforcement so early on. And we're working on sort of counter conditioning a lot of these negative feelings of touch. So she is getting really comfortable with positive reinforcement training. So of course I'm going to utilize that as much as possible, because obviously with anything with horses, but specifically with the flighty cases or like Ezzie, she very well could say, you know, if the release is just release of pressure, then I'll just stay over here where you can't even introduce the pressure, because then I'm already getting reinforced. You know, that's like having a bag of alfalfa right next to them and having a small handful and saying, which one do you choose? Do you choose the hard work where, you know, you only get the small handful, or do you choose getting total comfort and relaxation by yourself over eating that bag of hay, you know? So we kind of have to really up the incentive to get these sort of horses to want to engage. So anytime you can introduce positive reinforcement, obviously anywhere, I talk about all the time, it is my primary training method is using R+ as much as possible. But when you're dealing with these really high flight horses, sometimes you just got to work with negative reinforcement and then start to like braid in the positive reinforcement. So that's my little spiel on that. So yeah, right now I am just working on touch with the stick, and I am using the stick and positioning myself where I can actually sort of touch her without her really noticing too much that there's been a change here, because she's funny. She's fine with the stick, like completely fine with the stick at this point, which is fabulous because I want her to be fine with something. And I've touched her all over, her legs and everything. We've worked on some like haltering with like the string of the lunge whip. Like the lunge whip actually serves as an incredibly multi-purpose tool for training. So definitely would recommend using that or having that if you're going to gentle your horse. But I am just working on getting her used to me sort of touching her with a stick and then walking up to her. Because that is really the battle with the touch with my hand. It's not so much like my actual hand touching because she's used to the stick. It's more so me being so close to her and touching her. Like I always joke that my superpower, if I could have one, would be like extra long arms. So I could just like reach the horses and not have like my body be so close to them, because that's often like the trigger and makes them go over threshold and everything. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I'm just like, wow, I wish my arm was longer. But anyway, there we go. Okay. She's been doing this, I'm sure, but I've been too busy talking about other stuff. I haven't even mentioned this. So the main thing I've been working on with Ezzie, and okay, this is a great way to help your nervous, anxious horses, is to optimize choice in training. So there's a lot of ways that we can do that, and I will go over those ways sort of as they pop up in the different, you know, gentling videos that I do. But for Ezzie, the best way that I can optimize choice for her is to cue her to sidestep over to the stick. So I have the stick up, and I am just waiting for her to, right there, take a couple side steps, you know, closer to me in whatever direction. Sometimes she, like, I'm not going to say side pass because I know that's not correct. But, you know, anytime she sort of sidesteps that or moves that shoulder closer to me is always sort of the green light to be able to touch her with the stick. So all I'm doing is just touch, click, treat, because I really want to counter condition the negative associations with touch with something really positive. And I had to do this a lot with Puzzle, who, if you guys, I don't know if I posted much about how, you know, that sort of all progressed with her, but she was really guarded of her neck and head. Like she would, when I was trying to get her tag off, she would turn in, ears pinned, threaten to bite. It was a whole big thing. That horse is like the sweetest thing now. It is like so funny. I'm not surprised because she feels safe now, but it's just like that was such a thing with her for a while. So it's just been the year of working with you know, I said spicy mares in the last video with Savvy, I think, but it's been like sensitive and really like emotionally complex horses, which has been really fun. So just working on, you know, giving Ezzie the time that she needs. Sometimes she just likes to walk away. Horses are bickering behind me. Actually, I think that's Puzzle right behind me right there with Chase. Yeah, I think it is. I have two like identical. Oh, yeah, that is Puzzle because Ollie's right behind her. They're so close in color. It's hard to, like, my screen is so small right now because the voiceover makes it all, like, tiny. I can, like, barely see what's going on. Yeah, that's Puzzle, and that's Ollie. That's right on the left there. But that's my favorite color, so naturally I have to have two of them. All right, so right there, she did her little side step. So that's sort of like, yeah, like I said, the green light, start button almost. It's not quite a start button. But that's her cue, essentially, to tell me that I can touch her with a stick. So she is sort of leading this training session, and it works really well because it sort of empowers her to want to keep trying because she knows that she obviously wants the reinforcement because she's getting alfalfa, and they don't get that all the time. And she knows how she can get it. So she just offers that a lot, which is great. So now I'm just working on getting closer. She's like, what are you thinking? I think I clicked there because she's very smart about the click. She knows that bridge signal like no one's business. The second I click, she's like ready to go. The other good thing about her, yeah, right there, she got spooked. The other good thing about her recently is when I first started working with her, she had this, and she still does, mind you, when she gets kind of anxious and uppity and all that. But she used to have this like alligator mouth. She would just open. There she is. She would just open her mouth and just like expect me to toss food in it, and I was just like, she actually got my finger once so bad. So I was like, let's try to like not have that happen anymore. But that just all stemmed from like the anxiousness and the excitement around food. And she's gotten a lot better about learning that the food is constantly coming, and like it's, it's not something you have to be getting snapping turtle for. So, all right. So here I think we just do a little bit of leading. Yeah, she's doing really good with that, which is nice because there's so many things that this horse can do at Liberty, which is really helpful. Because when we eventually do introduce some pressure, I'm sure in the beginning it's going to be a little bit crazy. But once we do introduce pressure, it's going to be familiar. She'll realize that, like, means walk on, and walking and, like, staying near me and all that. So there's going to be a lot that's going to hopefully translate. So even though, and I think I've talked about this before, and I know I've talked about it, like, on the Winter Wish, but, gentling Mustangs is such a... It's so, like, simplified now, and there's so much complexity to it that it's not just, being able to halter and lead and do all these things. Like, gentling requires so many small steps that lead to big steps, especially when you're working with these difficult Mustangs. Like I said, Savvy, I can touch her with a stick. She doesn't twitch. Like, I can rub her butt, I can rub her body, I can rub her neck. She's fine. Like, it's crazy. And then you have, Epona, our other, my client Sarah, she adopted her, and she actually adopted Stage as well. So she has those two. And, Stage I got a month ago, and Stage was out in the herd there. She was one of the chestnuts without the blaze. She very briefly, when Ezzie turned the camera, she was there. She does have a blaze, but it's not as big as Chase's. But anyway, she got gentled in like a month. And she's accepting of touch and all these things. And Epona is better, but like she can still be a little twitchy and a little guarded. So it's like gentling is so complex, and there's so much involved in like the little steps of getting them used to all these things. So it's like, even though like Epona and Ezzie aren't Epona is haltering, but she's not leading. But like these guys aren't leading on a line yet. Like they still are able to do so many things. And, like, that goes both ways. Like, Savvy, who I can touch and do all these things with, still can't do a lot of the things that these girls can do. So it's like, there's a lot. just going to show that, like, you could have a Mustang that you can do a lot with that you can't, quote-unquote, like, isn't a gentle horse that still has a really solid education so far. So when you do get them gentled and, like, able to do the things, like, they're going to be so much further off and better off because, they have the framework for all these other things that are going to play a role down the line. So that's just something I wanted to talk about briefly there, just so everybody knows. Okay, so yeah, we're just working on getting that sidestep touch. She's doing really good with that. And I'm just working, like I said, on getting my hand closer, and right there, finally can touch her. But like I said, I have touched her before. I've touched her neck, and actually I think I've touched all over the right side. And I actually have soft brushed her a little bit on the right side. And then the left side, I've gotten cheek and neck. And that's about it, because that left side is wicked guarded. She's got the one blue eye. But the brown eye has a smidge of blue in it. And I'm like, okay, could just be the coloration. Or it could be a vision thing. I have no idea. And right there, she really liked the scratches. So this was really good, because the scratches there became an incentive and a reinforcement in and of itself, because she enjoyed that. So that's a big one, is not only getting them used to touch, but also starting to really enjoy touch, so they sort of seek it out. And there's nothing wrong with them seeking out hay after they've been, touched, because they're like, that was a lot. But to get them to really like the touch and like enjoy the scratches, like wild horses do, because they mutually groom each other and they rub on trees, and like they do enjoy being, the scritches. But obviously when they're really guarded, they're just so tense and bracey that they're like kind of tuning you out. And like we don't want them to go and freeze either. So when she sort of lets down and is enjoying the touch, that's really nice. Like right here, just sort of observing. And then she gets a little uncomfortable. And I was like, okay. And then I have her kind of sniff my hand. And then I'll click and treat her, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I just release her for that. Oh, I'm surprised I didn't click and treat her for that. See, again, this is why it's so helpful to, like, watch these videos back. And I could have been like, okay, your reinforcement was the touch. But she did leave. And then she sort of re-engaged. So I should have click and treated her for that. But that's okay. Not like she needs it every time. Just if it were me. And it is me. So if it were me now, I would have done it. Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, just sort of kind of watch as she sidesteps over. I sort of give her a minute. I'm just cueing her with that stick being up. That's the cue. She's really thinking about that touch for a second. There's that sidestep over. Okay, good girl. Yep, so that was her cue. So I cued her, then she cued me. And then I clicked. Wow, I clicked for that. I didn't click for the other thing. I can't get over that. That's so funny. And there's her spook. I don't know what happened, but... And her spooks are getting a lot quieter. Like, they used to be explosive. And they still can be. But, like, they have gotten... In, like, the normal sessions, she's gotten a lot better about not being as reactive, which is great. Because that is what we are trying to avoid. Do I have both sticks here? I do. Okay. So now I'm working on getting her used to, but I'm like I said, the screen is so small. I'm like looking very close. All right. Now I'm getting her used to 2 sticks. Not for any particular reason. Like you could technically teach Liberty this way. I'm basically doing it so I can get touch on that off side because she, like I said, she's super guarded and she will just keep spinning and keep me on her right. So the stick is sort of, the double sticks are sort of just guiding her body straight so I can touch, both ends with the stick. And I guess just getting used to 2 different points of contact of touch because that alone can be triggering. Like there's horses, I've got a couple, Ezzie's one, Epona's the second, and Savvy's the third. The 2 hands is scary. Like you can't quite do 2 hands on them yet because it's just too overstimulating, which is fine. So introducing double stick is working out pretty well because she has to get used to touch points from 2 spots. It's not so helpful that these are the longest lunge whips I have on property. I could probably grab like 2 dressage whips. I have all these whips simply for distance between me and the horse when I'm gentling. Like it's so funny how many whips I have just for gentling. It's a riot. But yeah, just working on getting her used to touch. And like I said, I can touch her legs and I can touch her tail and I can touch everywhere with the whips. It's my hands that she gets nervous about, which is understandable. Yeah, so she did really good. So I'm going to end this here and share with you guys sort of a little clip from the last session because I think I pretty much just do this for like 20 minutes or so, if I remember correctly, filming this. And that's just not something you guys really need to like sit and watch because it's not the most exciting thing. So I'm going to pause for a minute and share with you guys how we ended on some other fun, easy things that Ezzie likes to do. And whenever I'm working with my higher stressed horses, I always like to end with something really easy just to keep the engagement for the next time. So Ezzie likes when I kneel down, which I don't always recommend everybody doing, but I've worked with her enough times to know she's not gonna, stomp me and do anything bad. But she was just hanging out, super relaxed, super low head, just chilling. I scared her because I touched her face, which she doesn't love. But she did a really good job just sort of chilling out, relaxing, and targeting the cone.